Welcome to the Ben Daniel Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. Sheryl Swoopes just can't help herself. Every time Caitlin Clark comes up in conversation, Sheryl Swoopes just continuously goes out of her way to try to undermine and diminish some of the success that she has brought to the Indiana Fever. Sheryl Swoopes, in her podcast on Spotify, Sheryl Swoopes said that she believed the Indiana Fever would make the playoffs without Caitlin Clark, which is why Angel Reese is her Rookie of the Year. Last year, without Caitlin Clark, not only did the Indiana Fever not make the playoffs, they had the number one draft pick. Now, with Caitlin Clark, they're ranked 7th in the league, and they're 2 games off from surpassing their total amount of wins from last year. Sheryl Swoopes has some type of hate in her heart towards Caitlin Clark that really needs to be taken care of. Sheryl Swoopes is the same imbecile who went on Gil's Arena and said Caitlin Clark broke Kelsey Plum's record in 5 years, not knowing that Caitlin Clark, did it in 4 years. Sheryl Swoopes just can't help but recognize the fact that Caitlin Clark clearly is the Rookie of the Year, that Caitlin Clark is definitely one of the top 7 players in the league, the best passer in the league, but Sheryl Swoopes would much rather say Katie Lou Samuelson is the MVP of the Indiana Fever. Yes, folks, that occurred. Sheryl Swoopes really believes that Katie Lou Samuelson is the reason why the Indiana Fever are playing as well as they're playing. Folks, it's crazy how someone who you used to perceive as a legend in their own sport, you can so quickly think to yourself, wow, that person is an idiot. That person is dumb. That person is ignorant. And every time Sheryl Swoopes opens up her mouth, she just continues to prove how ignorant she is. Let's take a listen to a small, brief clip from this Sheryl Swoopes podcast of her speaking on this Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever, Chicago Sky playoff team situation.
I don't know if Chicago's in the playoffs right now without Angel. Right?
Yeah.
Is Indiana, is Indiana in the playoffs right now without Caitlin? I don't know.
No. Last year, no.
Well, but they were close, right? But when you look at the overall team,
they were 5 games back from the 8th seed. That's not close. Only in the WNBA could somebody like Sheryl Swoopes try to lie to the rest of the world saying it's close. Folks, I have no freaking clue. No idea. Insert random Western Conference team here. They were 5 games out from the play-in game. Oh, they were so close. This is the logic that the WNBA legends go by. They were so close.
Like the pieces that they have, without question, Indiana has better players than Chicago from top to bottom.
Without question, Indiana has better players than Chicago, without question. Can we say without question? I'm not even gonna get into that debate, right? What I will say, Chicago clearly has the better coach between the two teams. Chicago clearly has the better scorer, pure scorer between the two teams, not counting Caitlin Clark. We already know Caitlin Clark, when she wants to put the ball in the hoop, is a way better scorer than Kennedy Carter. Just look at the numbers, folks. Just look at the numbers. Kennedy Carter has played more than 3 times the amount of games as Caitlin Clark, yet only has twice the amount of points as Caitlin Clark. In 2-3 years' time, Caitlin Clark's point total will surpass what Kennedy Carter has done in her first 3 years in the league. Folks, Sheryl Swoopes is an idiot. Sheryl Swoopes continues to make herself sound like a fool. People really endorse this nonsense. People really tune in to this nonsense. Shout out to Twitter for posting the clips because I was scouring the podcast. I actually went on Spotify. I listened to it. I had never used the skip 15 seconds ahead button more in my life. That's the clip that I found. Can I sit and listen to the whole hour of Sheryl Swoopes talking nonsense? Folks, I don't have that much tolerance. But I'll skip through it and I'll give you guys the important parts. Sheryl Swoopes says Angel Reese is her rookie of the year. Sheryl Swoopes tried to convince this woman, Jordan, that the Indiana Fever would make the playoffs without Caitlin Clark. Folks, in case you guys weren't aware, Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell were all-stars last year. The Indiana Fever didn't make the playoffs. Angel Reese was not on the Chicago Sky last year. The Chicago Sky made the playoffs. At every turn, at every argument, the hypocrisy just slaps us dead in the face every single time. I'm not sure why Sheryl Swoopes is so bitter, whether it's because Caitlin Clark broke her record. Whether it's because people are already saying that Caitlin Clark is better than her. I'm not sure what it is. But it smells of, yeah. It smells exactly of the reason Lynn Dunn had to call the WNBA like, what's going on here? This is what the WNBA promotes. This is what the WNBA endorses. It's not about who's better. It's about whose story makes you feel good. Who has the best feel-good story? Who makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside? This is pathetic. It's the Ben Daniel Podcast where we're calling a spade a spade. Sheryl Swoopes just can't help herself. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Take it easy.